Crazy Crockett, aka Andre's podcast. I'd like to thank everyone out there that's been listening to my podcast. I'd like to thank everyone out there that's been trying to listen to my podcast. Thank you, someone from Singapore. They started downloading my stuff from Singapore in Ghana.
Nice.
I don't know what the people in Ghana, I think they thought it was like a second thing. They football. So I'm thinking they downloaded it thinking I was going to talk about South Africa soccer. But thank you for downloading it. Appreciate it. I'd like to thank Griff for being back on the show.
Thanks for having me back, Trey.
Thanks for showing up. Ladies and gentlemen, I guess we got to just get things going right away. We're going to talk about the NFL. We're going to probably have to talk about Davante Adams, Aaron Rodgers, and the firing of the head coach of the Jets. And tell me what I think is the dumbest thing in the world. Fire a head coach who established the defense, like you said, out there. Just a brief thing.
Yeah, I mean, the Jets don't have any kind of history of firing a coach early like this in the season. It's week 5. They're 2-3. It's not like they were 0-5 or 1-4. They're still right in the pack. Their defense has been playing really good. They got a quarterback that still is trying to adjust to the new offense. It just seemed crazy to me that they would make this happen. But, they're trying to move on and go another route. I don't know what the plan is for Davante Adams. Where he's going to end up might be with the Jets, but who knows?
It just makes sense he's going to the Jets. But what doesn't make sense is that Aaron Rodgers still can't figure out his wide receivers. These are the same guys that he played in Green Bay, and these are the same guys that he kind of put down in Green Bay. And then for some reason he dragged them on to the Jets. And now Davante Adams, which he hates the Raiders because he just seems to can't get his head out of his butt. But he was never supposed to be a starter at any level. So it's unrealistic perspective to have on that quarterback. But going to the Jets just means more problems for the Jets. And because you and I were both talking about how we think that Aaron Rodgers is kind of way out. He's not going to probably get much better than what he is doing now.
Yeah, I mean, he was planting his feet well in week 1, week 2. So I don't think that the Achilles issue is an issue for him anymore. I think he's past that. I think he's just old.
Yeah.
And that happens when you're 40. He said that, all the pain and everything, it takes him longer to recover and all that. We think that he probably sprained his ankle last week. So, he's having a lot of issues working on things. It's taking him a while to recover from it. He's just not looking as good. I really don't think it would be a terrible move to take him out. The Jets did go out and they got Tyrod Taylor, who has always been serviceable every time that he's played.
Okay.
And he's got a heck of a team around him, so I really don't think it would be that far of a stretch to throw Tyrod Taylor in there. But
yeah, I totally agree with you. We'll get to the Saints, but I'm thinking, Griff was saying more that he thinks that he'll go to the Saints because Carr's there.
Well, yeah, Adam said that he wanted to go to a team where he was familiar with the quarterback already, where he already played with someone. So that means either Rodgers or Carr.
Yeah.
So
let's see what happens. I think Davante Adams needs to get his britches back in place. Put your big boy pants back on and just play football. Understand that your quarterback isn't that good, but you have to understand that maybe you have to run shorter routes for him. And you're not going to run those long 30-yard dashes that you did with Rodgers. And that's just the way that you have to adjust to your quarterback. And good receivers do that, and bad receivers don't. Good example is St. Brown. St. Brown kind of knows that when he didn't have Jameson Williamson, that Goff wasn't going to throw the ball 40 yards down the field. Jameson's got much better speed, so it opened up the field. They keep going to St. Brown in the middle. When they need a first down, 35-37. But we'll get to that Dallas and Detroit game, which is going to be one of the hot ones of the week. 49ers, Seahawks. We got 2 teams. One's hurt. The other one's semi-good. Both quarterbacks are kind of Prudy is he the real deal? Geno Smith, he sometimes looks like he's not a great quarterback certain weeks, and some other weeks he's on cue. Who has of all the players, if anyone that's out there with fantasy players, is Metcalf the elite receiver for this matchup?
Yeah, the 49ers have been giving up a lot of yards lately. I think that DK has a good matchup. Also, this might be a good week for JSN. If you have Jackson Smith and Jiva, and you've got some guys on a bye week, this might be a good time to throw him in. They've been having a little bit of trouble with those guys. Same thing for the 49ers. I think that we're getting Devo going. Brandon Ayuk, I think, is still a good pick. The Seahawks have been having trouble stopping the run the last 2 weeks. So I think that Jordan Mason's going to be a good pick for you. I'm a little worried about Kenneth Walker just because I believe Fred Warner is coming back this week, so Fred might be holding Kenneth Walker back. But Walker should still put up decent numbers, just not big numbers.
One thing I've noticed as what Seahawks did last week, they didn't go to Walker that well. It seemed like they didn't go to. For me, when I watched that game or reviewed it, they didn't stick with it. They kind of blundered and just went away from it.
They fell behind. So
Yeah,
you gotta get points, so you gotta start passing the ball. But
yeah.
Seattle's not built to be a team behind.
No.
So
no. All right, folks. This is gonna be a little tricky game matchup. The Jaguars, the Bears. Everyone was calling off Caleb Williams off last week, and then he has the game of the week. DJ Moore, which I didn't start because who knows? I don't know why I got my head up my ass, but for some reason I did. But Trevor Lawrence is still the quarterback. Is this going to be? I mean, I can't see Kirk for the Jaguars. He hasn't been around. I see DJ Moore having a great game again. Supposedly, is this the deal? DJ Moore. The Jaguars' defense is really struggling, but their offense came to life for the first time this season. We were getting ready to write Trevor Lawrence off for the year, and then bam, suddenly comes out with a big game. I think the big difference, kind of like what I've been talking about with Brian Thomas, was that he had pass interference against him. He had a few other plays that I think probably should have been called that way. And so I think Brian Thomas is really making a big impact on that team. The difference this last week was that when he caught the ball, it did go for a touchdown. So made a little bit more noise, and it really helped pad the stats for Trevor Lawrence. So, but the defense is struggling a little bit, so I do definitely go out with DJ Moore. I think Keenan Allen is coming back. Okay.
And so he might be a good play in this one. DeAndre Swift, for sure, is a great play. I think Cole Kmet looks good from this one. Throw out your Bears players if you got them. Otherwise, for the Jaguars, like I just mentioned with Brian Thomas, for sure, he had more touchdowns than anyone else in college football last year. So that is a guy that you want to have because he always gets touchdowns. Christian Kirk had like a nice 40-yard pass this last week too, so
he did.
He might be worth putting out there
As a third receiver, or like
as an extra. Yeah, if you're looking at bye weeks, Kirk might be a nice play for you.
Yeah, I mean, I couldn't guarantee you, but hopefully he gets 10 points. I wouldn't ask him to do more than that. 9, 8. I mean, depending on what bye week you're on and who's playing on your team, who you're going against. The Cardinals at Green Bay. Love is back on the field. Murray is looking like he did back in his glory years, which is still young, which is funny to say that. Their running game for the Cardinals isn't really legit. They're not producing. Am I right? Am I wrong? What's going on?
James Conner is kind of doing what's average for him, which is very decent. The problem is that the Cardinals are falling behind in every game, and they have to move away from the run, which is why we're seeing so much more from Kyler Murray. And sometimes good, sometimes bad. He is making some bad plays, but he is getting a little bit more yards than he probably should because they're behind and he's got to throw it. James Conner, I'm hoping can move along a little bit better. But in this particular game, I think the Packers are going to come out, take a hot lead. Jordan Love has been really hot on opening drives. I think that they're going to have a lead the whole game. I do definitely play everyone for the Packers. So Romeo Doubs, I know, has got some issues right now. He doesn't think he's getting the ball enough. I would not be surprised to see in this game that Romeo Doubs gets a lot of targets.
Okay.
Just because he feels like he's behind, and against the Cardinals, this is a team that you can definitely catch a lot of balls on. So they might lean his way, but otherwise, Jaden Reed still is going to be your top guy. Dontavian Wicks, Bo Melton, Tucker Kraft had 2 touchdowns last week. I would not be surprised to see Kraft continue to take an over there in the tight end spot.
Yeah.
So all your Packers look good. Cardinals, Marvin Harrison Jr. For sure is a guy. James Conner is a guy. Kyler Murray is a guy. Those are the only Cardinals I've taken this one. I do stay away from Trey McBride, who I think is one of the top tight ends in the league, but I do think the Packers have a game plan to slow it down this week.
Okay. But why wouldn't they not go after Harrison Jr.? What do you think they would kind of try to shut down Harrison Jr. because he's the long threat? Because you can always play cover 2.
Yeah, well, is Jair Alexander coming back this week?
Nice. I don't know.
So, I mean, Jair Alexander is one of the best in the league, but I also saw on week 1, week 2, he had a few hiccups.
Oh, yeah.
And then he was out after that. So,
yeah.
I don't know if Alexander's going to come back and play this week.
Okay. Yeah, okay, that makes sense. All right. He's a rough game. And I'm going to say rough because these 2 teams are not good. You got the Colts and the Titans. You got Richardson, second-year guy. Taylor is the running back. Pittman, like you said, when we first started with the season, Pittman Jr. isn't really the number one receiver. Powell for the Tennessee's running back. It's a 1-2 punch. Is there any hope for any fantasy owners about these 2 matchups?
Yeah, well, and I'm curious to see if Anthony Richardson comes back and plays. They were saying he was kind of close last week but didn't play, so Joe Flacco came in. Joe Flacco had a big game, and Joe Flacco had great games with Cleveland last year at the end of the year when he came into play. So Joe Flacco's out there, man. That offense really goes. That's really worth putting some guys out.
Mm-hmm.
Another thing with Joe Flacco doing well last week was that Jonathan Taylor was out. So Taylor wasn't running the ball. Trey Sermon was out there as the number 1 running back. So they probably had to pass a little more. But Joe Flacco, man, he's a ball slinger.
So would you, as a fantasy football guy, you already got a quarterback. Let's say you have Dak Prescott, or you have Jared Goff. And I figure these 2 teams is a good example where the defense is going to be a lot stronger. The offense may not be on the field a lot. Do you go out of your way to pick up Joe Flacco to see if you can just score your points?
I'm going to go out of my way. So if you have like the Dak Prescott or a Jared Goff, if your backup quarterback is like Aaron Rodgers or one of these other guys, Trevor Lawrence, somewhere in there, maybe Deshaun Watson, if you have a backup quarterback like that, I wouldn't be afraid to grab Joe Flacco if he's going to start this week.
Yeah.
But I would say, like, if it's Dak or if it's Jared Goff playing against the defenses with each other there, I would start Joe Flacco over both of those guys, but I would not start Anthony Richardson over either of them.
No.
So that's kind of where I'd be at with that. But yeah, I think Richardson's going to come back. But yeah, Flacco plays again. I try to have Flacco, but don't drop a good quarterback for him because he's only got a week or 2.
Exactly. Here's a tricky game. The Texans and the Patriots. Patriots are not supposed to be as good, but clearly the quarterback level at both of these teams are a whole different level. You got C.J. Stroud and Brisket. What's his name?
Yeah, Jacoby Brissett.
I mean, it's a no-brainer, right? But you got Stevenson as a running back for the Patriots, so does Texans have a strong running defense? What's the edge about? What would the Patriots have to do?
Yeah, you got to run the ball on him. I see Ramondre Stevenson getting 150 yards in this one.
Okay.
But then, a lot of struggles with throwing the ball. Jacoby Brissett's been serviceable. The team looks a lot better than a 1-4 team. They've been in the game with everyone.
Mm-hmm.
They're just losing the games, and I expect the same thing here. I think they're going to lose to the Texans, but it's really hard to trust any of the wide receivers. The tight end Hunter Henry's like kind of a maybe, but probably only if your starter's out. Then Hunter Henry's kind of a nice extra piece to throw in at tight end if you need it.
Okay.
But otherwise, your Texans are going to look good. Nico Collins, I think, is going to be great. Stephon Diggs, all those guys are going to be.
Is Stephon Diggs doing what he's supposed to, or is he? I haven't heard much about Stephon Diggs because the Bills have been riding along just fine without him, which now makes you wonder, Stephon Diggs and Devontae Adams and every wide receiver.
No. If you can have Stephon Diggs, you want Stephon Diggs.
Yeah, right.
But yeah, he's missed a little but yeah, we saw in week 1 he got the 2 touchdowns. Still looked explosive. Looked like he could move and get off the ball, run his routes real well. So I don't have any issues with Diggs moving forward in the season. The issue with that team is that they haven't had their running game. So Joe Mixon's been out for the last 3 games. They're still not sure. They're calling him week to week, so they're still not sure exactly when he's going to come back. And then on top of that, Damian Pierce had been out as well. So they're working with Cam Akers, who barely plays, and then you have Darren Boombawale. They've been serviceable. Agumbawale has had a couple of nice runs, but yeah, it's not the same as what it is when Joe Mixon's out there, or Damian Pierce for that matter. But
I did say that Mixon was going to get hurt. I thought that's why Cincinnati got rid of him. Because he just, you said he's a good 4 or 5 yard guy.
Yeah, well, he's usually steady Eddie.
But he's always, something about him, he always gets hurt. I mean, I don't know. I feel like that's why Cincinnati got rid of him. Because they needed someone to play every game and be like Walter Payton work through the paint. That's that.
Well, he's getting older, so he's getting ready for that 30 mark.
Okay, we'll move on. This is going to be kind of a fun game here, folks. Tampa Bay Buccaneers, Baker Mayfield, and the Saints. Of course, I mean we could talk about Carr. I already talked about Devontae Adams, about that whole shebang, but we're not going to bring that up right now. But Alvin Kamara, is he going to have a big game? Is the Buccaneers going to have another shootout for Evans and Godwin? I mean, what are you looking at here?
Yeah, I think the Saints have a better defense than some of the other defenses that we've seen against the Bucs this season.
Okay.
I think they'll keep it kind of a mid-range game, kind of in the 20s. But yeah, I think this is going to be a close one. It's a division rival. They know each other really well. Kamara, I think, is going to be great for you. Chris Olave, I think, is going to have a bigger game than Rashid Shaheed this week. Shaheed's been a little better probably 3 of the last 4 weeks. But yeah, this week I would expect Olave to do a little better. The Bucs don't have like Carlton Davis anymore and all that. So
no.
But yeah, I would say watch for that, and then I don't know for the tight ends. I'm not sure I would really want to trust Cade Otton or Jawan Johnson this one.
No.
Taysom Hill kind of had been moved around a little more. So Foster Moreau got another touchdown this week. So kudos to him. What a great guy. He's really been through a lot. So we're super excited to see him do well. But yeah, I'm not sure if you can trust the tight end position in this game.
Mm-hmm. Neither of these quarterbacks I'm going to give great points. Correct? Because they're maybe Carr, maybe more points than Baker because he'll be on the field more projectedly because the Saints have a better defense. Would you start your backup quarterback with Carr No, I mean with you went back.
I think probably Baker still gets more points.
Okay.
But
More mobile.
but I think Kamara does more on the ground.
Okay.
So
Kamara should be your guy to hopefully bump you over to win the game, win your team. This is basically, if you're a DraftKings FanDuel, this could be a trap game for you guys. Browns, Eagles. Eagles looks like a elite team. I can't say much about the Browns, Deshaun Watson. You never know what person's going to show up. But with the Eagles at home, is everyone going to score? Is this a game that A.J. Brown is going to actually play? Is he going to be on the field? Is this time for people to kind of put A.J. Brown and maybe think about, I'm not going to play him until the 13th or 14th week of the season towards the playoffs? Or do I let him go and pick up somebody now to get me through the rough times of the year, a guy that can give me 12, 13 points instead of one of those games where you need A.J. Brown to give you 22 points and then maybe nothing because he doesn't play. I mean, what do you do?
Yeah, I mean, we'll see about AJ. I'm not sure that's the way that I'm going to go for this one. I would go with Dallas Goedert. He's going to be your top receiving threat this week. And then I think running the ball, I think that Saquon and Jalen Hurts will have big games running. The Browns offense, Deshaun Watson's just really, really struggling all season. The Eagles' secondary is their weak spot. Everyone can throw the ball on them. Doesn't matter who the quarterback is. So watch out for Amari Cooper this week. Possibly having a big game, but I just don't see Watson doing enough to be able to really make things happen here.
Okay, and Chubbs knows no words about Chubbs yet. Right? Is he back on the playing field just for practice? I mean, is he just walking around the practice field? I figure he should be back soon. It's been like 3-4 weeks. It's been 3-4 weeks.
Well, and last week he was set up for the return.
Yeah,
designated for the return. But
is that what's going to save Deshaun Watson? Chubbs, or is Chubbs really just the guy that they're hoping he doesn't have a prior injury with the ACL, and he's not the same guy?
Well, and that's kind of what we want to see, right?
Yeah.
So, and I mean, that's just not something anyone's going to be able to answer until we really see it.
Yeah.
There hasn't been anything coming out like in practice where he's just like, oh man, he looks electric.
Yeah.
They're just not showing anything yet. So he's been doing kind of limited practices. He's kind of coming in and he's just moving and doing the flow and getting things going. But they opened up that 21-day window.
Mm-hmm.
So didn't play last week, might not play this week, but he might come in and he might do just like a few reps.
Mm-hmm.
Otherwise, they still have Ford and got Foreman. So they've got other running backs that can still kind of play for right now. But you want to make sure that Chubb is totally healthy when he comes back and plays a full second. Yeah.
Don't rush it. Here's a good game. Washington and the Ravens. Is this where the Ravens kind of shut down Daniels, the rookie quarterback, just phenomenal running around like bat out of hell? Meatloaf. Meatloaf is. So is this a game where Daniels just kind of gets kind of like set back to reality because the Ravens defense is so pure, and they already compared Lamar Jackson to this poor kid. They already have to play against the Eagles quarterback. So they kind of know how to play this kid, right? Is this the week that Daniels is just kind of like, oh, now we know, back to reality. You're not that good. Is this?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's really the big thing is that Jen Daniels running around kind of has some comparisons with Lamar Jackson, and I think that the Ravens are going to want to shut that down. So I think that they are going to stop him from running. Brian Robinson might have a little bit better game because of that, though. Kind of everyone paying attention to the quarterback.
Yeah.
Brian Robinson might be able to sneak through and get some more plays for you. Otherwise, Yeah, I think overall the Ravens are the better team here, but the Commanders have done so much, and it's easy to say that everyone's going to try and stop Jaden Daniels. It's another thing actually stopping him.
Okay.
So we'll see how that goes. I do expect the Ravens to win this one, but I wouldn't be surprised if it was a big shootout.
Which players do you think is going to have the most points? For all the listeners and watchers that need points.
Yeah, and again on this one, I think Brian Robinson's the big winner for Washington.
Mm-hmm.
I think that Terry McLaurin's probably going to have a rough game. They just had Deontay Brown had a nice game this week, but I would not expect for that to repeat. Noah Brown is still out there as well, but yeah, I would say that those are more desperation type plays. I wouldn't want to go against the Ravens defense in this. And then on the other side of the field, kind of the same. I still like Derrick Henry and I like Lamar Jackson. Hard to trust all of the different receivers that they have. You're still kind of looking at the Mark Andrews and Isaiah Likely turnover, where it's starting to go more likely than it is Andrews. It seems like Likely at least is more of an end zone, red zone threat.
Yeah,
which always gives them a little more opportunity for points. But both guys will still move the field. But yeah, I would stick with running backs and quarterbacks.
I feel
not receivers in this game.
I feel like Andrews is the guy for first downs with either 3rd and 4 or 3rd and 6, and obviously you got Henry for 3rd and 1, and of course Lamar Jackson can quarterback sneaker for 3rd and 1 or 4th and 1 if they want. John Harbaugh wants to go for it. But I think Likely doesn't have a busted head injury that I feel like Mark Andrews really is protecting with brain cells, because what happened a couple years ago, last year, and everything else with it. But Likely plays more like free spirit. And I feel get hit, runs a little faster, a little quicker, Andrews is a little older. That's why I think you're right. By the end zone, you get. But what would you do if you're? I mean, some people. I mean,
Andrews is only 27, so he's not an old guy.
But he's not. But he's almost. He got hit in the head a couple times too hard. And I saw it last year and the year before. They combusted his head and it's completely flat. And then they had to pump it up where the air blew. I swear, I did. I saw it.
Was it on Nickelodeon?
I think it was.
You saw that?
Yeah, I think it was. All right. This is a tricky matchup for both these quarterbacks. Well, for Bo Nix. And, this is going to be a really weird game to watch. You got the Chargers and the Broncos. Herbert, is he still kind of out? Is he? He's got a bunch of ankle problems, foot problems, knee problems. Is he that kind of?
Yeah, I think Herbert plays. These are two of the top defenses right now in the league. Both of them have been shutting people down. The Chargers have been number 1 in the league for points allowed this season. I would not be surprised to see this game with single digits for both teams. So
no big hope for big points.
I'm gonna try and avoid pretty much everybody here. I don't think I trust anyone. I think probably what you want to do is play your defenses.
Yeah.
So
would you sit out? Would you pick up a backup quarterback for both of these teams, like Herbert and Bo Nix? Would you I won't play my 2 guys? I mean, but a lot of people in PPR will pick up a backup quarterback because they have to.
Well, I think these guys are the backups.
Bo Nix and
Justin Herbert. Yeah, I don't think anyone has them as their starters.
You'd be surprised.
I mean, Bo Nix for sure. And which, by the way, shout out Bo Nix. He had a great game this last week.
Yeah.
He looked really good, so that's exciting. But against this Chargers defense, I don't think so. And Justin Herbert at one point was a starter for people, but I don't think that he is anymore. He was drafted as like the 18th quarterback overall. So I don't think anyone's starting him. But if you are, this might be a good time to look for that. Like the Joe Flacco one-off, or if for whatever reason in your league someone doesn't have Derek Carr or Baker Mayfield yet,
Oh, you're
Those
right.
Sam Darnold, all those guys that were all late kind of picks. Jared Goff.
And you know who does that? Our leagues with only 10 teams. Probably 12 teams or 14 teams, you're not going to get that opportunity. But there's a lot of leagues out there that I've been invited to. I only do one because I can only handle my brain cell watching one because I can handle 5 different teams like this guy does. But in reality, 10 teams, you probably would have a chance to pick up someone like Herbert or Bo Nix. Yeah, you're right. Most people probably would not have Bo Nix as a starter, just a backup. But I still think there are dominant people out there that I think Justin Herbert would start.
I mean, you got some super flex leagues out there where they might be really deep.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, if you can find even a Justin Fields or really even I think Trevor Lawrence might be okay if you're really, really desperate and one of your starters is one of these guys.
Okay. Let's keep moving so that we don't have to like 12 5 minutes.
Yeah.
I can't handle that. All right. Here's the Raiders at home against the Steelers. Old classic rivalry. Not same style of football. Again, we have to say something about Devontae Adams because he's probably going to play even though he's not injured or not. He'll probably just make an excuse to not play. But Myers is one of the guys that you want to start. Along with the one other guy that I have on the team that I didn't play last week. Don't know why. Again, much more of a team guy than a fantasy football guy. Do you see the same results? And you can't really see the same results because Steelers defense is better than most teams, right? So do you see Myers and my other guy? Who's the
Yeah, I think Brock Bowers is probably the only one that I'm really trusted in this game.
Okay.
Zamir White was not out there last week either, so it was just Madison on his own. I think both of those guys are better when they have a counterpart. So,
yeah.
I mean, not to say that Zamir White's been great. I think it just helps to have both of them on the field.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I think Brock Bowers, the tight end, is probably the only guy that I'm going for from the Raiders this week.
Okay.
Otherwise, yeah, for the Steelers, I think that you're in pretty good shape with a few of your guys. The Pat Freiermuth, I think, is a good pick. And then George Pickens, I think, is a great play for this week as well.
Okay. So, can't say much about Justin Fields. Can't say much about Shoot. He's going to throw an interception or two. He's going to score you less points than more points. So he probably only give you like 10, 12 points on your team. Probably don't want to even have him on your team anymore because everything's falling apart. Like Vegas. Because Vegas is falling apart. But I'm going to skip the Detroit and the Cowboys game. I'll leave that for last because it's Detroit. Falcons, Panthers. Sam Darnold has a new career going for him. Kirk Cousins looks like he's back on the floor of things with a new team, adjusted pretty well. I don't really see a big thing about fantasy points for the Panthers, but for the Falcons, the running back and their second receiver. Do you see the same results for the Falcons?
Yeah, I see big things for the Falcons. Yeah, it looked like Kirk Cousins kind of looked like himself again last week against the Buccaneers. We kind of talked about how the Buccaneers are kind of letting some guys go, but yeah, I think Kirk Cousins looked great. Drake London looked great. Kyle Pitts looked great. So all the guys that were supposed to be big stars in the league who have not been all had big weeks. So that was really, really great. And then Darnell Mooney also had a big game.
Do you see him having a big game?
So, yeah, I think here against the Panthers, you're going to be looking at that. I think J.C. Horn's going to be he won't be on Darnell Mooney, so he'll probably be on Drake London. So Drake might come back down a little bit in this one, but I think Mooney's going to look good. I think Kyle Pitts is going to look good just because that Panthers defense struggles so much. But yeah, Bijan Robinson, of course, is going to be great. I do like Kirk Cousins moving forward now because I think that he's just healthy and I think that he just makes things happen. So I think that one looks good.
And then I made a mistake. Not Sam Darnold. And Dalton.
Andy Dalton.
I don't know why I keep. It's just so weird to me to see Dalton in the end of the year for me. But it's just, I can't get it that too much. Okay. Don, is he going to have at least a decent game for like 14, 15 points? 19?
Yeah, the Falcons are still going to give up some points. So, yeah, Andy Dalton's going to look good. Deontay Johnson's going to look good. Chuba Hubbard, I think this might be his last big week. I think Jonathan Brooks is coming back soon, so they activated him from the injured reserve designated to return list. So whenever Brooks comes back, I would say Chuba Hubbard's going to move back to the number 2 role. But the last few weeks, Hubbard has looked very good, so I would play Hubbard again this week.
Okay, that's pretty good advice for. I would need that advice if I had him on the team. The Bengals had a huge game last week. It looks like one of the Backstreet Boys for the Cincinnati Bengals, Joe Burrow, does not have to dye his hair back to brown because he had a phenomenal game because I didn't shave on his hair color. Hold on, so weird. But the Giants, I swear, I picked Seattle to beat the Giants, and the Giants beat Seattle. And this really pisses me off because how is Daniels winning games now? I mean, he didn't really squat for the last 300 years playing with them.
Well, and to do it without Malik Neighbors on the field.
That's why I picked.
But Daniel Jones, I think, has always been a good quarterback. As far as being able to move the ball, he's good on his feet. Darius Slayton had always been his top target. Darius Slayton had a huge game this week. So, yeah, all those things I think still look great. Joe Burrow, I don't care what color his hair is as long as it's under a helmet, right? So it all looks orange to me, but
it just looks really bizarre.
Yeah, but I think the Bengals are gonna eat real well here, and I think probably the same for the Giants. So
point wise,
keep an eye out, for Malik Neighbors.
Zach
see
Moss.
if he comes back. But Zach Moss should have a big game. We are seeing that him and Chase Brown are starting to split a little more.
Okay.
So keep an eye out for that, and don't just look at Zach Moss's points when you're looking at this in fantasy, but also look at Chase Brown. If you don't already have Chase Brown as a handcuff, you should.
Oh, yeah.
But if he's on someone else's team, keep an eye out for that and watch that split and see how many points Brown's getting too.
Okay. Do you actually think that Joe Burrow will have as many points as he did? Yeah, 42. Do you? It's hard to say because to me, I think he'll have a good week, like 22, 23 points, not 42. And then he might go down to 19 because the whole 42 back to reality, back to Zach Moss, more run than run. I mean, is this going to be normal that you go and see Joe Burrow?
When you're going against the Panthers and the Giants, I mean, you're just going to do better. So
okay,
I would suspect in this one that Burrow has another big game.
Okay,
maybe not quite the 42 points, but a big one.
Destroy me. All right, the Buffalo Bills against the Jets, and this is going to be either the most. I mean, I just don't see how the Jets are going to put up anything against Josh Allen and that receiver that was hurt, that Shakir. I have him on the team.
Shakir.
Who was hurt last week. I don't know. I think he's questionable again. But he's improving. Any hope for Jets fantasy point people? I mean, Conklin, the tight end, not really doing much. Aaron Rodgers, bad ankle. Looks like he's mobile enough, like what you said, but he looks like he's a little off cue. Lazard, any of those wide receivers for the Jets?
Well, Conklin's had 2 really nice games in a row.
Okay.
So I wouldn't be surprised to see a little bit go that way.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, without Robert Saleh in there as a coach, I'm really curious to see what happens here. I think either the defense completely falls apart, or the team is just awesome.
Yeah.
And it was maybe there was something there that we didn't know about. But I think Robert Saleh is one of the better coaches in the league. I really like the team that he put together there. I think that without his presence, I think that defense is not going to be as good. Olbrook, the defense coordinator, is going to take over as interim coach. I'm not sure if there's going to be any changes as far as play calls go there for defense, but on the offensive side, Robert Saleh didn't have that much to do with it anyway, so I think the offense is going to keep doing what they're doing. But their offense wasn't doing that much. So
No.
against the Bills have been very, very good. They're shutting down a lot of passing game. I would imagine that they're going to come out here and without the head coach, I would imagine that they're just going to throw a lot of pressure at Rodgers. So we'll see. He doesn't seem mobile anymore.
You just have to. You have to.
He can't run out of the pocket. So I think the Bills are just going to come right after him.
Yeah.
I think this is going to be a bad one. I think the Bills by a lot on this one.
If I'm more a team guy, but if you're more a defense, offense kind of guy like I am, you don't want to leg around against the Jets because you don't want Aaron Rodgers to get kind of hot after a big play and then stay on the field. That's a trap moment for the Bills. And then what happens, I noticed that in the past with Josh Allen, when teams get a little hot, by accident, Josh Allen makes the same mistakes as average quarterbacks. So receptions, so coverage, guys aren't open, guys aren't looking at the quarterback to catch it. So this could be one of those games that it should be a blowout by the Bills, but don't let Aaron Rodgers get that opportunity to we're still in the game. It's in the fourth quarter, 14-17, and we have the ball with 2 minutes to go.
Yeah, well, and I mean, very possible that there's some kind of locker room issue with Saleh where just the offense was so unhappy. And I mean, it kind of looked like Rodgers and Saleh weren't getting along, but both of them said that didn't have anything to do with it. They both said that they liked each other. But if it is anything, then maybe we'll see the Jets' offense come out really hot. But the Bills' defense is not the one that you want to have your first game.
No, of course. All right, last game, and then we'll go from there. Detroit Lions, Dallas Cowboys. Detroit's off bye week. Who has the advantage? CD Lamb? I always call it CC. I think that word CC. But CD Lamb? Or do you think Jameson Williamson, the kid that runs the same kind of routes as CD Lamb? Or is it St. Brown right in the middle, breaks up the whole thing? Two, I think the difference of this game is going to be is the running game because they have Montgomery and Gibbs. I think Detroit sticks to the ground. Montgomery is going to get a touchdown. Gibbs may not. I can see this week St. Brown will get this. I don't know if he has any touchdowns yet this year. Does he? St. Brown?
Yeah.
Okay. So I think St. Brown is going to get a touchdown. I don't see Jameson getting a touchdown, but let's look at it. Dallas point of view. Who's going to score points for Dallas? Who's not going to score points for Dallas? Or is it just going to be a free-for-all? It'll be a 42-35. One of those things. Everyone is getting points, but it's not important because everyone's on the offense is just on the field. Or because Detroit's got a good defense. And I think Dallas's defense end guy, what's his name? He's what? Starts with P. It's a big guy, number 11. He might be hurt.
Micah Parsons
is he hurt?
And Lawrence were both out last week.
Are they playing this week?
So we'll have to see here if one or both are going to come back.
Mm-hmm.
But those are huge pieces on their defense. So those are regular Pro guys.
So of all the guys on the team, we'll just go down the mark. How many points do you think St. Brown, Jameson, Gibbs, Montgomery? Do you think they'll all get about at least 7 points each? Or do you think one guy's going to get 15 and then 3 will get 4?
Yeah, I think St. Brown probably puts up about the same numbers that he normally does.
Mm-hmm.
So I would expect an average game for him. Jameson Williams, I think, is going to have a little bit lower scoring game. I am hoping that a little more comes out from Sam Laporta. He does look like he's finally healthy for the first time. We saw him a little bit there in week 4 before the week 5 bye, which just gave him another week of rest. So I think that looks good for him. Maybe we see something from Brock Wright, but I think a lot of that is going to do with with Michael Parsons being in or out of the game.
Yeah.
I think that really changes how the tight ends play.
Mm-hmm.
Eric Kendricks has been a phenomenal tackler down there. So they've got a couple of guys that can really stop the run. That offensive line is so good, and those running backs are so good. I would expect both of them to kind of do okay, but I would think in this one that Jahmyr Gibbs might actually have the bigger game.
Yeah, okay.
I think Monty's had a bigger game in almost every week, and I'm always a big shout-out guy for Monty. But I think in this one, just the way that the Cowboys are set up, I think that this one goes to Gibbs.
Because the Cowboys don't play up 8-9 guys up front, and they play more back.
I think that they're going to shut down more in the middle.
Okay.
And then I think that Gibbs has a little bit more potential with catching passes.
Okay.
Than David Montgomery does.
Okay.
So I think there might be a little bit more there, but yeah, I would say St. Brown probably still those things. I think this is going to be a great game. I think it's going to look a lot like last year. I just hope that the refs make the right calls in this one.
Do they ever not make the right calls for Detroit? Every effing year. Do we have to talk about that division game?
I mean, there's individual games over the years, and I don't want to head on the refs too bad, but I mean, last year, it was pretty
bad,
pretty gross.
Yeah. Ezekiel, do you think he's going to come on in? Do you think they're ready?
You know what? Rico Dowdle actually had the big game this last week, and I think that Dowdle's going to be the guy. So watch out for him running the ball.
Do you think he'll get points? Do you think he'll get at least 12 points against Detroit just running on the field? Maybe. Do you think? I have him on my team. Should I not be expecting him to score a touchdown because Detroit's defense now? Or should I just keep him in, for example?
No, I think Dowdle's okay.
Okay. All right, folks. That's a wrap. You want to say anything about Pete Rose before? Because we were going to talk about Pete Rose last time.
Oh, man. What a travesty that the greatest baseball player of all time is not in the Hall of Fame.
Oh, he is now because he's dead, of course.
And I mean, for him to not in his lifetime be able to see his name go up enshrined, it's awful. It makes me sick. I mean, as far as I'm aware, there was never anything that was ever found that said that Pete ever bet against himself.
Oh.
He always bet on himself winning or on other teams, but he never bet on a game where he would be losing and then give up the game, which is really what the problem is with gambling, right?
Oh, yeah.
Especially you can throw a game if you throw money on yourself, you can play a bad game, you can make some money. There was never any record of that. Pete always stood by that. He never did that. Of course, he would be. Either way, but I mean, those bookies, all those guys, they keep track of the names on things.
Yeah.
I mean, if he ever had a bet against himself, somebody would have known about it.
Oh yeah, okay.
And I'm not aware of anything ever coming out that way. So
that makes sense.
You got these guys in the NFL, Jameson Williams, all these guys. I mean, you might get suspended for 2 weeks, 6 weeks, maybe a year for Calvin Ridley for things. But I mean, if you want to suspend Pete Rose for some time, you can suspend him. But I mean, it's the greatest hitter of all time. That's.
I think the problem was that the commissioner of the National League was Jumanji, and he died 7 months after. I think if he stayed alive for like 5-10 years, I think he would have reconsidered him being in there. But the guy that took his spot, which I think was a Cincinnati associate, refused to change the rule because he wanted to honor Jumanji. And I think I think the only thing that for baseball is the Black Sox 1919, 1920 court hearing about a couple of guys running off with money to fix the game because Comiskey, the owner, was underpaying all the players and they weren't ready. Won in 1913, 1915 or something like that. They won 2 World Series and by the time in 1919. But baseball has a different setup, I think. I think they just have this honor word. It's kind of like being in the military.
It is.
Or like being a cop.
Yeah.
Or like being in the mob. You just don't speak. You don't talk to the feds. And you don't cheat in baseball. I do think that Pete Rose did make one good point. It makes no sense to get him in the Hall of Fame now that he's dead, because the point of celebrating being in the Hall of Fame is for the fans who are alive when you were alive, and for the family members and his family to celebrate when I say I'm talking about Pete Rose being alive. So I almost think that, to me, if I was Pete Rose, I would tell my own family, no, if they didn't want me in it when I was alive, then don't have me in it when I'm dead, because then I'll make my point. I don't know. I think it's kind of stupid.
Well, yeah, and I mean, to everything that you said there, I mean, it's, gambling is always discouraged in sports, but especially in baseball, it is such a bad juju. Like, it's just not something that you can do, and that's why.
Taking steroids.
He was taken out. Yeah, and so
taking
much worse than all the
steroids.
PEDs and all that. But yeah, I mean, the guy was so good, and I mean, just I mean, he wasn't on any performance in anything, drugs or anything, right?
He was like 40. He's still 42 years old, and he broke that record.
Yeah.
I mean, that's phenomenal.
I mean, it's just so crazy. It's mind blowing. If you don't know the stats on Pete Rose, look him up. But yeah, I mean, I think it's such a travesty for him to not to be able to see that in his lifetime. I do hope that at some point the MLB gets things together and
they already said it.
And make something happen. Yeah, because I mean, it just, at least in my lifetime.
No, they already said
this should be. They
said by next year he's in it.
Yeah,
which is, to me, I think if I was Pete Rose or Shoeless Joe in that era, I would have just laughed at him like, you're going to put me in when I'm dead? That's just kind of bullshit.
Well, it's still something that his family can celebrate, right?
Yeah, so, and his fans, Cincinnati fans, I mean, that's something that you always going to remember. Pete Rose is probably the second greatest baseball player of all time. I would almost say, well, now that they think that guy from the Negro League, Ben Johnson, who had better stats than Ty Cobb, is probably the greatest. I mean, I would probably put Pete Rose and Ty Cobb, or maybe Ted Williams, I mean, you can go back and forth.
Yeah, Ted Williams for sure.
Ted Williams. I mean, you can go back and forth with Ted Williams, Ty Cobb, Ben Johnson, and Pete Rose. You can flip a coin and whatever heads, tails lands on, it doesn't really matter. Yeah, I remember watching him as a little kid when he broke that record. I remember my dad, when he broke that record that night, it happened to be weird. It would happen to be televised, like nationwide.
Mm.
Almost like nationwide, because today's TV is different than yesterday's TV. You don't live near Cincinnati or don't live near White Sox land or wherever land you live in, you won't get that game. But I think they threw it on ESPN because ESPN was 4 years old. And they threw that game on. But another day, another dollar, folks. Thank everyone that's showing up for this podcast. Thank you for listening. Thank you, Griff. Any last word since now we've done with 53 minutes? And this is amazing. We're not here for an hour and a half, 2 hours.
Yeah, we're going to start shortening these things down.
We have to.
So I know. If you let me talk football, I can do it for hours and hours and hours. But we don't need all that. So.
Just get the point.
Good luck. Be safe, everyone. Take care of things.
Peace, love, and I'm out.